Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the garage of god-awful grocery getters. We are here in my garage and we are actually going to be working on the garage. You see, now that my electrician has roughed in all of the electrical system, he still has some wires to pull and he still has to do the high voltage car charger circuit that I asked him to do as the very first thing. And it's going to be the last thing, but whatever. Things are moving along really, really well. And we are finally at a good point in this garage where I can start to build permanent shelving. You see, in life, there's some milestone moments, and finishing this garage is certainly one of those milestone moments. But along the way, there's also smaller victories, like when I got my first sort of biggish toolbox. It was like, wow, I feel like I am moving forward. I feel like things are progressing and that I am stepping up in life. Next level stuff. I can move on and do greater things. And a permanent storage solution in this garage is one of those victories. I've been dealing with these stupid, rickety temporary shelves for about 10 years now, and it is time to go. And now that I have all of the electrical roughed in, I can make that a reality. So at my feet, I have got a pile of lumber and more in my other shed, and we're going to build some shelves. And we're gonna make this the garage that I have always envisioned since I first started this project 10 years and $250,000 ago. Let's get going. So you see here, we have a absolutely cavernous garage. It is over 11 feet worth of ceiling, and we are going to use every inch of that. I've got an 8-foot beam right there. That is just kind of, I was referencing, just so I could see how tall it is. It's gonna be that tall, and we're gonna build our top shelf right on top of that. That beam is 8 feet wide. We actually have about 12 feet to work with before we get to the workbench. So as you saw in my storage unit, we built the benches and the shelving off of the wall. We're gonna do the exact same thing here. Except here we have the benefit of the walls being mostly in square. So it should be a lot easier, it should look a lot better, and it's definitely gonna be a lot stronger because these are massive, massive beams, because this is a massive over-engineered building. And so in terms of the shelves, I also want to keep the bottom level open. You see, I have a shelf here in my workbench. I don't want to do that. I'm going to have it open at the bottom and then just have the shelf top right at about that level. I'm going to double check the measurements in the other building just to be sure. I want to match that because I felt that it was a really good height. And then we're going to do 3 levels on top of that. We're going to do that level, and we're going to do another level up there, maybe 3 or 4. It really just depends on how I'm feeling about the height once I frame in the second level. We're going to do some over-engineering on all of this shelving because I'm going to put basically everything on it. It can be engine heads, it can be transmissions, it can be a winch. These shelves are gonna bear some serious weight, so I'm gonna build them up really, really big. And so over here, I've got 10 sticks of lumber and 2 sheets, but in the shed, I have another 15 sticks of lumber and 2 more sheets. So we're just gonna use this up first, and then we're gonna go get more once we use this up. But this should be enough to get at least, oh God, probably all of it, if not most of it, done, or at least framed up.
To start off this project, I placed the first level shelf support that would be mounted directly to the wall. This helps us to maximize durability and strength of our shelving, as it's tied into the structure of the building in many places. I used construction grade 2.5-inch deck framing screws to secure it all together. I opted to use screws over nails because I'm an amateur and I need to be able to easily undo my mistakes. Making sure these initial supports are perfectly level is crucial to the project's success. If anything is off level, everything will be off level from here on out, and it will be extremely difficult to correct later on. Next, I got started on the upright support beam. I wanted my shelf to be 2 feet deep, so I did some math and cut the end shelf support. I put the upright on the inside of the box because I felt it was easier to handle in these initial stages, and it would also look better at the end of the project. Now that the box was leveled out, it's time to frame in the joists. I ran them off of the wall studs. I figured if it's good enough for the building, then it's good enough for the shelves in the building. With the shelf box framed up, my next step was to get the upright plumb. I did that by using a 45-degree cut against the upright and another 45-degree cut where it intersects with the box frame. This would ensure that the upright would not move from left to right. To make sure it doesn't move front to back, I put in a cross brace off of the wall stud near the bottom plate of the garage. Finally, it was time to cut the shelf surface. I used 5/8 structural plywood because we're going way overkill. I chose 2 foot because it's a good depth and because it's really easy to cut in plywood. 1 sheet is 2 shelves. After my initial cut, I had to measure out and cut in for the upright. I ended up doing this a little bit differently with every shelf with varying degrees of success. I cinched it all down with some 1.25" drywall screws that I had laying around because they're cheap.
So this came out really, really nice, and if I were using this as a workbench, I would be off to a great start. But since I am using this as shelves, we're also off to a great start, actually. So here's what I'm thinking next. The second shelf, the second story of these shelves. This is about 18 inches apart. This is a little taller than that shelf down there. But I'm thinking the second shelf should be right in line with the fire block, because if I do that, then I don't need to worry about stuff on this shelf falling down behind the workbench. I would only need to worry about that on the first shelf, and it won't fall very far, but it's also going to be pretty easy to throw up some scrap plywood along the back there. If I hate it, that's a good question. What if I hate it? If I hate it, I'm just going to have to deal with the consequences.
This section is very similar to the first level of shelving. However, I had the benefit of using the fire block as an extension to my shelves. It was at this point that I decided I was going to block and extend the shelves at every level. My only regret with the second level is that I didn't account for the 5/8 plywood shelf. So the back of the shelf sinks down 5/8 inch. I could always just throw some cuts of plywood back there and level it out, but for now, I don't really care. As I set the front shelf support, you may be thinking that I made a mistake by placing it on the inside of the upright. In most cases, you'd be right, but this time it was actually intentional. Stay tuned and I'll explain later.
So now that I got the second level in, I decided to start putting things up on the first level of shelves, and it is actually quite perfect for my oil containers. So I cleared everything out of here. I put all of my detailing crap back on this shelf. I actually want to put the detailing crap on the second level. I don't know why, just something about keeping it separate from the oils is really appealing to me. But I don't want to start filling the second shelf until I have the third in. So you see the second level was sunken in, and that was because when I'm standing here, I do benefit from having that extra few inches of being able to see in here. So that's why I did it. I wanted a little bit of extra space here, but I also wanted it pushed back a little bit so that I could see to the back of the shelves. Now that's not really going to matter up above. I'm going to need to get on a ladder anyway. So I'm just going to build the third shelf just like this, And the fourth shelf, we're gonna build on top of the beam. Well, it's been another day, and no one has shown up to do any work. But that's okay, because I signed a real contract with a real licensed and bonded contractor, which means if nobody does any work, nobody gets paid. I didn't pay any of this up front. They get paid as they make progress on the job, and they have not reached the milestone of getting this garage wired up, so nobody's getting paid. The only reason that sucks is because there was yet another day where nothing got done, except for after hours when I finished my day job. Yesterday, I framed up the top shelf and I added some extra support. This is going to be the strongest set of shelves any garage has ever had, and way stronger than I need it to be, which is perfect because this is a forever thing. I've also got kind of a start on the wraparound, and have just barely enough wood to probably do the bottom shelf of this wraparound. So today I am going to work on the plywood for these two shelves so I can get these fully functional, and then we're going to get started on this wraparound. I'm just going to keep working until I run out of materials, because once I run out of materials here, there's a whole lot of work I can do on that car for my Try Hard series. Stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a fun one. I'm probably going to do the rest of this off camera. You don't need to see a time lapse of every second. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did here. Over here, these shelves are just going to be a little bit shorter. They're going to be 12 inches instead of 24 because there's 12 inches from the door to the edge of the garage here, and I don't want to go too much past that. Well, I wanted to get my wraparound done yesterday, but things didn't quite go as planned. You see here, this upright is ratchet strapped to the wall, and that is because I apparently bought a pile of boomerangs. You see, every one of those sticks there is warped quite badly. So I was unable to get anything level or plumb. I had the same problem with the crossbeam over here. I could not get this level for the life of me, and that's when I realized the beam is bent. But I was able to get it plumbed down below, and then up top, I just ratchet strapped it to the wall. So considering the ratchet strap is at my next level, I'm probably going to put a brace at the top level to keep it plumb, and then I can work on this level and keep building out. I have just enough. So I've got these two beams are straight, that beam is straight, so I believe that's straight anyway. So I have just enough to get these two shelves up and get them plywooded. Well, I've got the third and fourth levels framed up and plywooded in. I basically worked until I ran out of batteries. So I got everything here done. I got this all in. I wanted to have one continuous piece of wood, but I cut that incorrectly because I'm an idiot and just ended up using some scraps left over. So the top shelf, so not a lot of weight's gonna go up here. It's totally not a big deal. And now that my batteries are charged, I can fill in these pieces here and then start blocking off the big shelves as well. Those shelves are not screwed in yet because I wanted to be able to remove them in order to add the blocking and get them nice and deep like these shelves over here. And of course, at the end of the day, I am going to return all of my boomerangs back to Home Depot and hopefully exchange them for new lumber so that I can build more shelves. Where am I going to build more shelves? Probably above my workbench, but one project at a time. Right now, I'm focused on building these shelves so that I can clear out that shelf and that shelf. And, oh, it's going to be so nice to get rid of those. And then once those shelves are gone, I'm going to get rid of that fridge because I don't think the fridge works. And at that point, it's going to be more valuable to me out on the curb than it is sitting here in the middle of a space that I could be using to park a car. Well, I worked until my body quit on me, and I didn't get that rack out of here, but I got most of the stuff that's staying in this garage out of here. The rest of that stuff is going to the other shop. So is that miter saw, and I've also removed the top to my workbench over here, and eventually, hopefully soon, it's not going to be a pile of parts. So I can reuse all of this stuff from the top of this workbench. I'm going to reuse all of this wood here. I'm going to use the beams to brace the workbench to the wall. And that's going to remove all of the racking that is happening with my workbench. It is very strong, but because I don't have any kind of X bracing, it kind of sways from side to side, front to back. And bracing it to the wall is going to remove all of that because there will be nowhere for it to move. I also need to get some containers. This is absurd. This is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of this stuff can go into the boxes that I got from my grandpa. So I'm going to mount those to the wall over there between the dartboard and that door there. The dartboard's going to go somewhere else. It's definitely not living there. But the boxes of screws and nuts and bolts and all that stuff are going to go on the wall. And a lot of that stuff, which is screws, nuts, and bolts, are going to go into those boxes. And everything else that isn't, well, I'm going to have to find a home for it. I've got a bunch of electrical stuff here. I've got a bunch of carburetor stuff that can go in the boxes. The electrical stuff can go into that toolbox there or that toolbox. I can use both of those for electrical. This stuff, unfortunately, the shelves are full. So I'm going to have to build more shelves. That's all that means. I'm just going to build more shelves. This stuff is pretty heavy, so it's probably not going to live on an upper shelf. It's going to be on one of the lower ones. And so that brings me to the shelves that I just built. So you see, this is pretty tall. In fact, I'm 5'10". I'm standing underneath this, and yeah, this goes up to 11 feet. This is pretty tall. We do have earthquakes, and things are going to shift around during earthquakes. So I have to keep the weight distributed from heaviest to lightest up to the top. And I'm also got to figure out some kind of earthquake resistance system here. I'm thinking at minimum, I can string some baling wire across some screws across the front of that thing. I haven't gotten there yet, but we will definitely be getting there, especially before I start putting a car in that bay. Right now, if it falls, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to fall on the concrete and break. But as soon as I get something under there, I've got something to lose, so I'm going to want to earthquake-proof that. Workbench, hopefully is going to be a workbench again pretty soon, and there's a big, huge space off to the right of it. That is where I'm going to get a 6-foot toolbox, and that's going to be my end game toolbox, where my primary, all of the tools that I use over here are going to get moved over there. That's going to get used for other things, probably electrical. I'm upgrading. I'm stepping up my game everywhere I go, every chance I get. And of course, all of this stuff is going out probably today. And once I have all of this cleared out, oh man, this is a garage. Like, my God. I removed the shelves and the fridge, and my God, what a difference. This is incredible. I have a clean slate to start over in this garage. And I cannot describe how exciting this is. And so when I look at these shelves, the first thing I think of is, convince me why I should not just wrap shelves all the way around this garage. I have so much potential for storage. That top shelf is going to wrap up to the doorway here, right there. Those two shelves are going to continue on the other side of the window as far as they need to go. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to be because there's going to be other stuff there. Like, for example, I want to put a rack for my motorcycle gear. I want a curtain rod for my jacket. I want a spot for my helmet, pants, boots, all my gear. I want it in here, not in the house, because it takes up a lot of space. And that bottom shelf can run underneath the window. It can run all the way down to pretty much that box right there. So I'm not exactly sure how far this is going to run, but I know that it is going to continue on the other side of this window. Over here, these top two shelves, I can run them all the way down of course, that third level there is going to stop close to the door, but that top level can run all the way to the wall. And then I'm going to do a wraparound over here. However, over here, I want to insulate that wall because this is the wall that gets all the sunlight. I'm going to take a little bit of a lighter approach over here because on that wall is where I'm going to mount these boxes for screws, and I can finally start to sort out this workbench. Oh man, this is so cool. So in order to build all these shelves, we're going to need a lot of lumber. So I went to Home Depot to go buy a lot of lumber and got this. Yes, I got 5 sticks. I had to have gone through 2 pallets of lumber to get these 5 sticks. I could not find anything that wasn't bent. I think it's because the wood was so wet. I mean, of course, the beams weighed 45 pounds each, but it was so wet that as soon as it got on the pallet, it warped. So I think it's going to be slim pickings on lumber for a while, just because we had such a strong El Nino. These trees might as well have been grown at the bottom of the ocean. And to make matters worse, I had some major problems with my Jeep. On the way back, with those pathetic 5 sticks of lumber, I had some major brake problems. The brake light is on. I heard a snap. Something went wrong. Probably, I don't know, a spring broke in the rear drum or something like that. That's my best guess, but this Jeep needs a lot of work. So if I need to do any towing, it is likely going to be done with the ID4. However, I don't have anywhere to charge it right now. So if I want to go to Home Depot, I have to get my ass up at 5:30 in the morning to go sneak a charge, and then maybe I can sort through 2 pallets of lumber to find 5 sticks. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Does that sound like a lot of fun to you? That's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm wearing a basic shirt because I'm headed to work after this video. Thank you all so much for watching. There is a lot more to do, obviously, but things are so exciting right now, and I'm going to keep working on this garage, mostly off camera in terms of the shelves, because I can chip away at this, you know, kind of 1 block at a time. I can take one section, build that out, and then go do something else. Now that the bulk of my stuff is sorted, I have so much more opportunity to do some really cool things. And I need to do a lot of things in this garage. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you don't like what you see, maybe you're a contractor and you saw all of the mistakes I made, leave a comment. I still want to hear from you. The comments drive the algorithm, so thank you to everyone who leaves a comment. Thank you to everyone who shares my videos and likes them. I really appreciate you. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.